XRP Future Millionaire. It's 2:48 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, August 30th, 2022 on the East Coast. What I have for you is something back from 2013, and it's going to show you how XRP got started. It's also going to show you the violations page, so we're going to understand how we got to where we got. We're not going to read over the legal framework or nothing like that, only the stuff that revolves around XRP and Ripple Labs. So let's get this started. I would really appreciate you hitting that like button, as I really went through the, I had to do a deep dive to find this. Nobody else on YouTube is going to give you this, because I'm not even sure a lot of people understand that this even exists. So attachment A, statement of facts and violations. So I'm going to read the first subsection, which is introduction and background. I've read through this entire thing, and most of it's just the legal framework, and it actually talks about, you know, like the different violations that can be had and the way you have to register, and just all this garbage that has to go into how you have to register to become all this stuff with the cross borders and to transfer money from. There's so much nonsense in there, but we're going to deal with the XRP, the Ripple, and the Ripple Labs. So let's get started. Introduction and background. Ripple Labs Inc. Ripple Labs is a corporation registered in Delaware and headquartered in San Francisco, California. Newcoin Inc. and OpenCoin Inc. are the predecessors of Ripple Labs. Ripple Labs facilitated transfers of virtual currency and provided virtual currency exchange transaction services. The currency of the Ripple network, known as XRP, was pre-mined. In other words, unlike some other virtual currencies, XRP was fully generated prior to the distribution. As of 2015, XRP is the second largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization after Bitcoin, which it's now third, flip-flop with Ethereum. XRP Fund 2 LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary of Ripple Labs, was incorporated in South Carolina on July 1st, 2013. On July 2nd, 2014, XRP2 changed its name to XRP2 LLC. During a portion of the relevant time frame, the entity was named XRP Fund 2 LLC, but it will be referred to as XRP2 throughout this document. So that's where it tells us where we started, how we got incorporated, and a few fun facts. Now, the legal framework, boring. You guys can always look through this, and you can pause it. You can literally pause it. You don't even have to ask me for it. Just pause it. And you can read the pages. And this just goes over the ecosystems, the Bank's Secrecy Act, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. That's good information, but not going to read all of this. Very tedious, and then it tells you the fines that can be imposed and all the same, a bunch of stuff. Now you go to violations, subsection 3, and this is where we can continue. Ripple Labs operation as a money services business in March to April 2013. So we're going back over 9.5 years almost. Ripple Labs has previously described itself in federal court filings and in a sworn affidavit as a currency exchange service, providing online real-time currency trading and cash management. Ripple facilitates the transfer of electronic cash equivalents and provides virtual currency exchange transaction services for transferable electronic cash equivalent units having a specified cash value. And it says, see Ripple Labs Inc. v. Lancor Enterprises. So this is just some more legal mumbo jumbo. From at least March 6th, 2013 through April 29th, 2013, Ripple Labs sold convertible virtual currency known as XRP. Ripple Labs was not registered with FinCEN as an MSB while engaging in these sales, and you had to be registered as an MSB, and that goes back into, if you read through all the pages, there's a subsection that talks about, and it shows it up there. You have registered as an MSB with FinCEN. That's the Bank Secrecy Act and implementing regulations. So that's a no-no. And Ripple Labs was not registered with FinCEN. So as described in paragraph 6 and 7 above, on March 18, 2013, FinCEN released guidance that clarified the applicability of existing regulations of virtual currency exchanges and administrators. Among other things, this guidance expressly noted that such exchangers and administrators constituted money transmitters under the regulations and therefore must register as MSBs. Notwithstanding the guidance and after the guidance was issued, Ripple Labs continued to engage in transactions whereby it sold Ripple currency, XRP, for fiat currency, i.e. currency declared by a government to be legal tender, even though it was not registered with VINCENZO as an MSB. Throughout the month of April 2013, Ripple Labs effectuated multiple sales of XRP currency totaling over approximately 1.3 million US dollars. Do I find the smoking gun to XRP in a problem right now? Could this be, I'm not saying it's a current problem, but I'm saying, is this a smoking gun into current misfortunes right now? And is this something we should still be worried about to this day? Because this is something on public record from 2013 that obviously they sold and profited off of the sale of XRP by Ripple Labs illegally because they weren't registered with the MSB through FinCEN. I mean, this is a smoking gun in a way. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. This is some interesting stuff here. During the time frame that it was engaged in these sales and operated as a money transmitter, Ripple Labs failed to establish and maintain an appropriate anti-money laundering program. Ripple failed to have adequate policies, procedures, and internal regulations or internal controls to ensure compliance with the Bank Secrecy Act and its implementing regulations. Moreover, Ripple Labs failed to designate a compliance officer to assure compliance with the Bank Secrecies Act, had no anti-money laundering training in place, and failed to have an independent review of its practices and procedures. I mean, this is right off the bat. XRP2's program and reporting violations. On July 1st, 2013, Ripple Labs Incorporated, a subsidiary, XRP Fund 2 LLC, XRP Fund 2, now known as XRP2 LLC in South Carolina. XRP2 was created to engage in the sale and transfer of the convertible virtual currency XRP to various third parties on a wholesale basis. Oh boy! This is the whole thing they're talking about. This is the unseen stuff we don't get to see. But this is exactly what XRP is in trouble for. Listen to all this. Listen. And this is what's biting them in the ass right now. And this is what they're going to use again. Oh, man. This is awesome reading this. And to think this is all the way back in 2013 and we have it in our very hands. XRP2 sold XRP currency in exchange for fiat currency in much the same way that Ripple Labs had previously done from March through April 2013. In other words, XRP2 replaced Ripple Labs as seller of XRP. Could this be constituted as an initial coin offering or something? This is some this is some shady shit right here now. This is what we don't want to hear. This is why I shared it with you guys, because when I started reading this, I'm like, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, if I'm reading this, you know they are in the courts. Oh Nelly. By on or about August 4th, 2013, XRP2 was engaged in the sale of XRP currency to third-party entities. On September 4th, 2013, XRP2 registered with FinCEN as an MSB. As of the date, XRP2 engaged in sales of virtual currency to third parties in exchange for value. XRP2 became subject to certain requirements under the Bank Secrecy Act and its implementing regulations as described in paragraph 5 through 15 above. XRP2 was required to have an effective written AML program to implement that program and to have an anti-money laundering compliance officer. Notwithstanding these requirements, despite engaging in numerous sales of virtual currency to third parties, XRP2 failed to have an effective written AML program. For example, A, it was not until September 26, 2013 that XRP2 developed a written AML program. Prior to that time, XRP2 had no written AML program. B, it was not until January 2000, ooh man, they're pushing it. January 2014 that XRP2 hired an AML compliance officer some 6 months after it began to engage in sales of virtual currency to third parties. C. XRP2 had inadequate internal controls reasonably designed to ensure compliance with the Bank Secrecies Act. XRP2 failed to conduct an AML risk assessment until March 2014. XRP2 did not conduct training on its AML program until nearly a year after beginning to engage in sales of virtual currency, by which time Ripple Labs was aware of federal criminal investigations, and XRP2 did not conduct an independent review of its AML program until nearly a year after it began to engage in sales of virtual currency, by which time Ripple Labs was aware of a federal criminal investigation. Further from the date XRP2 began engaging in sales of virtual currency to third parties, XRP2 was required to report transactions that it knew, suspected, or had reason to suspect was suspicious, and where the transactions or attempted transaction involved or aggregated to at least $2,000 in funds or other assets. And then you can go back to 31 CFR, and that's all in the beginning sections, and that would have took 2 years to read. In addition to XRP2's lack of an effective AML program, XRP2 also engaged in a series of transactions for which it either failed to file or ultimately filed suspicious activity reports. For example, I mean, if this shows you the start of, we're talking about ethics when it comes to and this is just trying to lay some groundwork for us, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm the XRP Future Millionaire. I love XRP. But, this is just when you build a history of something, I don't call bullshit on anything. But what I will say is this is some very interesting information that I know for a fact. I've been watching people on YouTube for a long time. I've heard a lot of people talk about XRP. I've never heard anybody talk about what happened in 2013 like this. Somebody should just put this on their homepage and just fucking pin it. Because I'd like to know, I like to see the history. Because what do we often say? History often repeats itself. And look at XRP not even 10 years later. About 8 years after this, 7 years after, found its way back in federal court. Well, on the onset, it looks like they're getting fucking bombarded and bent over by the, big old government. But when you start looking into it a little bit deeper, you can see they have a history, and the government was watching them for a reason. They were breaking the federal commission's law. XRP put themselves in a bad spot by putting them on the radar and not following orders of the government. So, now let's read on what XRP actually did. Or Ripple and all of this. XRP2 LLC and however you want to incorporate it. But XRP was the illegal sale, still back then. On September 30th, 2013, XRP2 negotiated an approximately $250,000 transaction by email for a sale of XRP virtual currency with a third-party individual. XRP2 provided that individual with a Know Your Customer KYC form and asked that it be returned along with appropriate identification in order to move forward with the transaction. They won't silence me. This is important. The individual replied that another source would provide the XRP virtual currency and did not require anywhere near as much paperwork, and essentially threatened to go elsewhere. Within hours, XRP2 agreed by email to dispense with its KYC requirement and move forward with the transaction. Open source information indicates that this individual, an investor in Ripple Labs, has a prior 3-count federal felony conviction for dealing in mailing and storing explosive devices and has been sentenced to prison. See United States v. Roger Ver CR1-20 or 20127-JF ND California 2002. In November 2013, XRP2 rejected an approximately $32,000 transaction because it doubted the legitimacy of the overseas customer source of funds. XRP2 failed to file a suspicious activity report for this transaction. And C, In January 2014, a Malaysian-based, customer sought to purchase XRP from XRP2, indicating that he wanted to be a personal bank account for a business purpose. Because of these concerns, XRP2 declined the transaction, but again, failed to file a suspicious activity report for the transaction. So I'm going to continue to bring you more information like this in the future, but that is pretty interesting to see the framework that's been laid out and XRP's willingness to bend the rules to get done what they want to get done. So it lets you understand why XRP might have been targeted a little bit, because there's history that goes back all the way to 2013.